Hello everyone, and welcome to another scrapbook layout process video where I'm going to create one double page spread using 2 sheets of pattern paper, but I'm also going to show you an alternative scrapbook layout from that same 2 sheets of scrapbook paper. The reason why I'm showing you an alternative is because this gorgeous Botanical Textures paper has a leaf pattern on one side for all of the sheets, but the other side has a more grungy feel and a more masculine feel to it. And I decided it would be fun to combine 2 pattern papers on one layout, but then actually use the reverse side of these on another layout to show you a softer feel with the leaf decoration and a more grungy feel with this side. Now, I've already done the leaf one, so I know where I'm heading with this. And because I've already made this design with the leaf pattern, on camera today, I'm going to make this design with the other side of the paper. So I've already created the double page spread with these 2 patterns. So I'm going to use the reverse side for these 2 patterns. And you can see I have cut into this a little bit, but I'm going to do some of the cutting on camera with you. Now, I do want 2" by 10" strips of paper here. So obviously the first cut I would make is a 2" strip, and then I'm left with other pieces. But I'm just going to cut these 2" strips. I need 2 of this pattern for one of the sides and the other pattern for the right side, and then the same thing for this paper here. Now, I am cutting these up into kits for an upcoming workshop that I'm conducting at the end of March, and I thought it would be fun just to come on camera and do this layout with you. And then the ladies that are coming on the day, if they get a little bit stuck, because there's quite a few people coming, they can always refer to the video. But it really is quite a simple layout to put together. And I love what I've done with the botanical leaves type on this side. So I'm just using this side to see if I can make it into a more boy or masculine type feel. Now, what I want to do with these, I'm just bringing in my Memento ink. I'm just going to bring in this little silicone mat. This comes with the glass mat, but it's really good for holding everything nice and straight. I am just going to quickly distress the edges of my pattern paper. Now, you can do this with a blending tool if you wanted to, but the look I'm going for is a more clean look rather than doing it with a blending brush or a blending tool. So I'm going to ink up all the edges of my patterns, and I've done this for both of the layouts, and I'm going to use white willow as my base here. I'll ink the rest of these off camera so you don't have to watch that whole process, but what I'm going to do first, just to show you, is the layout for this. So I obviously have a lighter shade of this and a darker shade of this pattern. So I'm going to have, I think, the heaviest one, which is this darkest one here at the bottom. Then I'm going to stagger these other ones going up the page. So it's going to be somewhat like this. And yes, I will ink the edges of this because some of the white goes into the edge here. And I might put this one with a more texture at the top because my photo mats might cover these pieces, and I really want that to stand out a little bit. So they're going to be staggered across my page. None of them are really going to line up with the other. So in this sort of fashion, now I'm going to break a little bit of a rule of mine. I don't need this one here. I only want 2 pieces on this side. Normally, when I do a double page spread, I want any pattern to run in the same orientation. But for this one, I don't have a leftover piece of this. So I am just going to put it this way and see whether or not I like it. So I might put the heavier one up here on the right, and then this one down on the left here. And I know I've got this wood grain type wash feel going horizontally here and vertically here, but I don't think it's going to matter too much once I start putting my photo mats on here. So I'm going to ink up the edges of the rest of these pieces and adhere these down, and then I'm going to come in with some photo placements, and then how I'm going to anchor all of my embellishments on the page that I'm going to use. So I've got my 2 by 10" pieces laid out here. The only concept with doing this is making sure that these don't all line up equally. I didn't want it to be uniform, but you could definitely do that if that is more pleasing to you. So I'm going to bring in my photo mats, and I've decided to use Lost Lagoon with this one. I've used a different base for the ones that have the leaf side, and I think this color, I'm going to use the light side. It is 2-tone cardstock, and I'm going to use the light side as my mat. So I am going to place one photo around here, somewhat like this, and then on the other side I thought I would put just 3 photos. I'm going to have them laid out like this. And I really like how the Lost Lagoon is bringing in a little spot of colour here. Now, the other thing I've gone ahead and done is punched some circles. So I've used the 2-inch circle and the 2 3/8 inch circles. I love having punches to just get some quick circle elements done. So I'm just going to put these out so that I can show you what I'm going to do with this. So I'm going to have a title up in this section here. So I need to stamp on this one. Then I'm going to replicate that double matted one down on this side. And then I think I'm going to bring these black circles in just on these areas here. And they're going to house some of the stamping I'm going to do. I'm using the same stamping for both of the layouts. For me, leaves work really well across a whole heap of themed layouts. So you can make them more feminine, you can make them more masculine, but they're also really good at just dressing up a page when you don't have the right element that you want to put on there, but you want to add a little bit of interest to it. So I'm going to do some stamping with these, and I need to do my title piece as well. So I'm just going to put this over to the side. Actually, if this is a little bit unbalanced and I realize I've forgotten to do something. So the one that is poking out of the top here, I am going to cut in half. And you can see I haven't adhered my photo mats yet, so I'm just doing a little bit of a dry fit. This full circle can come down into this area here as a landing spot for some of the embellishments. And then this one can get tucked under here. So I'm liking how that is looking. But now that I've cut that in half, I think I want to see more of a circle there. Not sure if I'm going to get any more circles out of this. We'll just see if I can fit in a couple more 2-inch circles. If it goes a little bit flat on one end, that's okay, because I'm going to tuck that underneath anyway. So I'm going to have one coming out here. I like having more than just half a circle, and one coming out on this side. Now you might notice that when you're punching these, you could get a little bit of a white edge. So I'm just going to bring back in my Memento ink, move this off to the side, and then for all of the black circles, I am just going to go around the edges, and now I no longer have that issue there. So I'm going to do that for all of these. I don't need to do all of them on camera with you, so I'll get to those in a moment. And I need to grab one of these circle elements because I want to do some stamping with it. Now I have made up a little cheat sheet here, so I know exactly how I'm going to fit all of my stamping for the embellishments on, and they're going to be in the instructions that I do for these layouts for my workshop, and I'll have a link to those below. I just want to have 2 of these large black ones. I love cling stamps. They add so much texture. Then I'm going to do some 1st and 2nd generation stamping. Now I'm not going to stamp all of these on camera with you, but you get the idea. I'm going to have to fussy cut these out. So I've got a 1st generation, a 2nd generation, and there is a little bit of a difference depending on how well you stamp these. This one hasn't got as much black on the end. I think I just rested the stamp a little bit differently. But with this set, it doesn't really matter. The texture in this is absolutely beautiful. And then I'm going to stamp some Lost Lagoon ones and fussy cut all of those out. I've got a brand new Lost Lagoon ink pad here, so this is going to be very juicy. And I did put that little white circle somewhere that I was going to stamp on. There it is. So I'm going to bring in Everyday You and Me and put So Much Joy on here. It fits really nicely. And being a photopolymer stamp, I'm going to be able to look through that and line it up perfectly, I hope. Let me see if I can do this on camera. Now, I have used this before, but I always seem to do that when I'm doing something on camera. I think it's just to get rid of the nerves of actually stamping on camera with you. What I'm going to do is get a scratch piece of paper. Just going to make sure that it's stamping correctly. Lost Lagoon is absolutely beautiful. I love this colour so much. And that's stamped really well. So let's see if I can get that just right for my circle element. So this is a 2-inch circle, and then I'm just going to put that down, let the ink absorb into the paper. I'm not going to press down too hard because I don't want it to smoosh out, because there are some fine lines with this text here. And that looks fabulous. I don't want to put my finger over top of that because it does stay wet for a little while. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp up some more of these leaves and fussy cut those out, and then I will be back to arrange them all and show you the layout, and also the one that has the leaf texture print on it. I've got my photo mats adhered down, and I've got my title ready to go. I've got another circle to put over here. And when I was laying the circles out, I decided for this page especially, it needed some of the splatters on here, and I've gone back to, this is going to be an all-time favorite, you probably get sick of me using it, but elements of text, and this one here, it just worked really well just to give these circles somewhere before I put the leaves on. So I'm just going to adhere that one down. You can see I smudged that a little bit. I touched the edges of the cardstock after inking it before the ink was dry. So that's something that you really want to be mindful of. So I'm just going to put this one aside, bring in my Lost Lagoon, and do my splatters here for these circles. Now, I haven't adhered these ones down yet. I am using second generation, and I'm just using this as a little bit of a guide as to where they go. Some of them are going to overlap each other underneath the circle, and that is just fine. And I might do just a little bit off the edge up here, just to extend it a little bit. I think that looks pretty good. So that one is going to go under here. And all of these circles are going to be places for the leaves to sit. I need to do one up there. I want them to extend out a little bit. I don't want them to just wrap totally around this circle here. I want a splatter going. Whoops. And I've got this really, really inked up around the edges. So I'm just going to get rid of that. This, as I said, is a brand new stamp set. So I hardly need to touch it all. So I'm going to put this one around that way. I'm going to be careful not to go into where the photo is going to go. And a little bit more coming out that way. I might actually put some on this cardstock here too, just to extend it a little bit. Loving how that looks. And by doing this little bit of splatter stamping, it brings the Lagoon cardstock and the Lagoon stamping into action on all of this. Now I'm going to bring back that right page. I've got all of my leaves here, fussy cut, ready to go. So I'm just going to lay them out on camera with you. Now the first one I'm going to do is going to go off the edge here, and I want it to wrap around. So you can see that only wraps around so far. So I'm going to get my scissors and just cut into here a little bit so that I can nestle this circle in just a little bit more. So that looks really good, but I want this leaf, I think, to come in and over my circle. So let's see how it goes if I try and tuck it so that, just push that one back and that one forward. Here we go. So I'm looking at this, and that's covering it a little bit too much. So I'm going to cut in to this one, bring that down, and then wrap this around here. So let's see if I like the look of that a bit better. I think that frames that out really nicely. So I'm going to put regular adhesive on the back of this. So move this off to the side. I'm going to go over the top of this piece that I've got here. If it'll move along, there we go. Sometimes you just have to coach it a little bit so that it goes over top of that area. And then I'm going to put dimensionals on this section so that they come up off the page a little bit. I actually don't want my dimensionals on the circle area. So this is where it comes in handy to have two different sizes and have these smaller little dimensionals to fit onto the leaf section. I've got it sticking to my fingers. I'm being fairly generous in this area here because I know this one here, I don't want any adhesive on that section. I'm going to wipe a little bit more away. This was called a rub and remove, and it was from Close to My Heart. I'm not sure. Stampin' Up! Don't have anything like this, but I know a lot of you have got these. This one is actually from my old Creative Memories days. I'm really liking how that's looking with those splatter stamps, but I might put just another little stamp here before I adhere this down. Now, I haven't done this on the other layout that I'm about to show you. I didn't think it really needed anything, but this one, I think with the grunged up pieces here, I think it really works well. So that's looking pretty good. I just have to take that backing bit off. There we go. Now, I know that this one is going to go flat to page and this one's going to be raised up a little bit, but it's still going to work really well. Just have to move that along. There we go. I love how that looks. So now I'm going to bring in all of the other leaves. So I've got a black one here. I've got a large circle in this section. So I'm going to put one there. And I think on this spot down here, I'm going to put this Lost Lagoon one. I absolutely love this colour. It looks so pretty. And then I have all of these other pieces here that are both first and second generation stamping. So I'm just going to spread these out. I'm going to scatter those in and amongst the pieces that I've got here. So every circle that I've punched out is going to have a leaf element on it. So I'm going to bring in a little bit more of this. I'm going to adhere this one straight to page. Now, I wanted to tuck that under a little bit more, but I can't get under there too far because I have the stem. So I'm just ripping off a little bit of that so that I can adhere that there. And I'm not popping these ones up on dimensionals at all. They're just getting tucked in and around, flat to the page, but it's building up each cluster. This one I'm going to put up on dimensionals, and I think I'll put a second generation one with that just to anchor it a little bit. And then this one here is going to match that one over on this side. Have a first generation. All the largest ones are going to go up on dimensionals. The smaller ones are going to go flat to page. And then I'll bring this one in up the top here and balance that off because there's quite a bit of the circle showing. And then I'm going to put another one here, I think. I have that one just coming over that photo holder, and then this one is going to balance off over on this side. So I need to get some dimensionals and some adhesive on these and then bring in some dots just to accent these a little bit more. But I'm loving how this is looking, and the addition of this splatter stamp really does add a good effect to the page. I love the visual of this. Here's the finished layout. I'll just bring this up a little bit closer to camera so that you can see the splatters here from the elements of text has just provided the perfect landing space, and it ties in so beautifully with this pattern paper. I love how that looks, and I also love that by using my scissors to cut in close to these leaves here has allowed for some of it to be tucked behind this title circle and some over the top, so it makes it really cohesive. You can see I've got some of these little dots here. They're actually the neutral matte dots, and they are designed to coordinate with this collection. This designer series paper, the Botanical Textures paper, comes in a suite with the woven texture paper, and I did a layout on that. So I will post a link to that video below, but this paper is such a great addition to the designer series paper that Stampin' Up! Has. I love this splatter all the way around. I know I keep saying it, but I'm really glad I added it. Now I'm going to bring in the other layout I did with the reverse side of these patterns. And I think you get a little bit of a different look here. If I put them side by side, this one is a little bit fresher. Now this is Old Olive, so the stamping here and the mats are all using Old Olive, of course Old Olive cardstock. So basically this is just flipping the pattern paper over to get the look that you want. There are two different leaf patterns here. One is a larger leaf, this one's a smaller print, and it makes it easy to mix and match pattern papers together when you have a variety of the size of the print. So you can see I haven't done the splatters on this one. I'd already put the dots and everything on, and it's a little bit hard to do the splattering. I'd have to pick everything off. And when you use dimensionals, it's really hard to remove those sort of items. But I do quite like the clean look to this page. This one, I think, needed to be grunged up just a little bit more, but the Lost Lagoon second generation just adds some freshness to this. So this is the right page here, exactly the same as the one that I created on camera for you. So I'm really happy with how these have turned out. I am going to create some cards and I'll put those in with the handout that I'm going to do for the ladies. And as I said before, I will have a link for those below. So make sure you check that out if you would like the instructions for this. I just love this pattern paper. I love the woven textures paper. I love the botanical textures paper. And black and white for me has always been a firm favorite, but I think by adding in the green here with the old olive and the bluey green here with the Lost Lagoon, it works really well with these black and white pattern papers. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I hope to see you next time. Happy crafting, everyone, and bye for now.